other news, a story that caught my attention via one of the rags over there in the United Kingdom. Apparently, Tyson Fury is backed by a massive 72% to batter Anthony Joshua as the Battle of Britain War of Words heats up. Whether or not you want to interpret this as a bunch of educated guesses or just a bunch of slaves to the moment, that's entirely up to you. In truth, I can't fault anyone for so deciding that maybe they like Fury a little more to beat Anthony Joshua than the other way around. I mean, Tyson Fury did rack up 2 sizable victories. He was the one who unseated Vladimir Klitschko. He's the one who ended his reign. And now he's the one who took Deontay Wilder's O and took his belt by effectively changing his base style, I might add. There were a lot of naysayers in the build-up of this second fight, myself included. Tyson Fury's gonna go in there looking for a knockout. Well, I didn't like the sound of that. I didn't think that was the brightest idea, but apparently Tyson Fury did, and it all worked out for the best. So I understand where those people are coming from, though a part of me feels that perhaps Anthony Joshua is once again being underestimated. That they're underestimating this guy, I think, is an understatement. They're looking past him. They're looking right over him.
They are.
Same way they did right after the Ruiz fight, the first one.
You remember that?
In spite of everything he had done up until that point, you know, unseating 2 undefeated champions, taking on Vladimir Klitschko at a time when he was still considered green for that particular fight with that particular fighter, having defeated as many top 10 fighters as he had thus far. A lot of people wrote him off almost immediately after that first Andy Ruiz fight. Myself, I felt that he had everything it took to get those belts back in the rematch, and time has proven me right. I think that, you know, in boxing, there's a saying, you're only as good as your last fight. And when it comes to Tyson Fury's last fight, he looked all but invincible, trouncing Deontay Wilder, smacking him around the ring, having his way with that guy. And this has left a lasting impression on the boxing community here in the States and the boxing community over there in the UK. This is their point of reference for Tyson Fury's capabilities, his arsenal at this time. But need I remind you that Anthony Joshua doesn't have the limitations in his boxing acumen that Deontay Wilder does. You understand? Anthony Joshua's got a set of legs. Anthony Joshua's got a different variety of punches, more so than Deontay Wilder, who heavily relies on a single shot, the straight right hand.
We know.
Hard shot that it might be, you rely on it too much and it becomes a crutch. It becomes a weakness. Whereas Anthony Joshua doesn't have that problem. Anthony Joshua isn't someone I would describe as a one-handed fighter, as he's not putting it all on a single shot. More so, Anthony Joshua can fight from a variety of ranges, whether it's mid-range to inside or staying behind his jab from the outside. He's got a level of mobility and coordination that Wilder don't have. So if your point of reference for what Tyson Fury's capable of is his last fight, just remember, he was fighting a one-handed fighter in his last fight. And Anthony Joshua, he's no one-handed fighter. Let me tell you that this guy, the second he looks less than perfect, a lot of people readily write him off. They do, you know. They hold this guy to a different standard, an unrealistic standard, without taking into account the intangibles, the mental makeup of the fighter. That Anthony Joshua, for example, didn't have to go right into an Andy Ruiz rematch. He was advised against it.
By a lot of people.
But he went ahead with it. He didn't make any excuses.
Yeah, he didn't talk a whole lot.
Wasn't shooting off at the mouth much in the build-up. He simply did what he had to do and got his belts back. And what that accents is mental toughness, mental fortitude, the kind of mental makeup that allows for adaptation, improvisation. Anthony Joshua essentially changed up his whole base style because Anthony Joshua, more often than not, is a boxer puncher. I mean, it's like people forgot that most of the fights that this guy won, he won by way of knockout. For that Andy Ruiz fight, you know, he decided he's going to be something else. He's going to be a pure boxer, sticking and moving, fighting behind his jab, not being a slave to the moment, not letting the little man in, depriving him of all the opportunities he needs to make it a fight. Anthony Joshua managed to do this, and he managed to do this over the course of 12 rounds. He basically shut Andy Ruiz out. The same Andy Ruiz who dispatched him in the previous fight was a guy who couldn't get anything going in the rematch. Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua got some things in common. They do, because what they have exhibited, the both of them, is that they can adapt. They can change their base styles. They can be more than just pure boxers, and they can be more than just boxer punches. The both of them have exhibited this in their own way. I don't fault anyone who might think that maybe Tyson Fury is the safer choice.
I'm not going to argue with you.
But I'll say that from where I'm sitting, when you're talking about two highly skilled athletes, two very talented boxers that have malleable skill sets, at some point you've got to mull over the intangibles. And when I say intangibles, I'm talking about the mental makeup of the fighters. I feel that Anthony Joshua had a lot of pressure on him ahead of that Andy Ruiz rematch. It really felt like all or nothing.
It did.
As, you know, if you can't get those belts back, if you can't bounce back from this, there are going to be some real hard questions that need to be asked, and much worse, those questions would have needed answers. A lot of pressure on that guy ahead of what was an immediate rematch. And he handled his business. That's how he dealt with the pressure. Whereas in the case of Tyson Fury, he found himself under pressure. But not with Deontay Wilder, though. With Vladimir Klitschko. That's right. The rematch, that never happened. The rematch, that never happened because, according to Tyson Fury, he was mentally unfit. He cracked under the pressure, folks. That's what happened.
According to him.
I mean, bear in mind, we're talking about two highly skilled fighters. We're talking about two very talented athletes. So it's not a question of their ability or their physical condition. It's a question of intangibles, you know? One guy is more accustomed than the other to dealing with high-level, high-pressure situations, whether we're talking about as an amateur in the Olympics, winning the gold, becoming a unified champion and subsequently losing the belts, to doing what he's got to do to get them back. I can't say wholeheartedly that Tyson Fury, in those